Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Baseline Inside Fordham Basketball. I'm Dwyer. It's finally here. Game 1 of the regular season tomorrow at the Rose Hill Gym against NJIT. I'll break down the history between the two teams. We've got an update from the AD and some previews to discuss. Also, several alums are doing work at the next level. We'll talk about that and more in a busy quick hitter segment. My interview this week is the one and only Albe Evans, and he has some good things to say about what worked during the 25-win season. So let's start out with an update from the AD Charles Guthrie. Last week, he did a Spaces on X with law school alum Ryan Patrick. He had a lot to say about the basketball program. He mentioned there is a GM now, and that role has been taken off of Coach Mike Magpayo's back. The company Open Doors helps with the contracts as well as provides NIL opportunities for players off the court. He talked about getting a promo billboard in Times Square for the kids. Opportunities like that for the student athletes. He also talked about winning in the non-conference and building that culture on campus. Here's what he said.
Don't do anything to that gym at Rose Hill. It's the most difficult place to compete in the Atlantic 10. And he said, if you get that thing cranked up, you pretty much can go undefeated at home because it's very daunting to play there. We've got to win the fans over by winning games. And once we start to win, we look at our fan activation, how we're getting people through the doors.
He also talks about building a sustainable winner at Fordham, and to do that, he believes that there needs to be a plan in place, and he believes Magpayo, his staff, and the school are all on board with developing a winner, and Coach is showing already that a winner can be here sooner rather than later.
I was always told that if you hit 50% of your recruits, you're probably going to play for a championship. We know we need probably 3 all A10 conference performers to make a run in the tournament. And so there's basic things that apply that if you can overcome, you can recruit and retain, and you have a strategy on tactics, you're most likely going to be put in position to win when it all counts. And I believe that Coach Mike, I've watched him for many years. He outperformed a lot of people in the Big West Conference. And the Big West is an underrated conference. You got the coach at UC Irvine is just tremendous. You got the coach at UC San Diego, who's at New Mexico. And out of those teams, both won 30 games last year, and Coach Mike beat both of them.
I'll post a full interview in the comments. Those were some of the big highlights from that interview. Coach Mike Magpayo and junior forward Akira Jacobs also talked with WFUV Sports about the team heading into the opener tomorrow. The key things for me is that this group is well connected on and off the court, and a lot of players believe the analytics help them become a better player because the stats speak for themselves. Here's a soundbite courtesy of the WFUV Sports page on YouTube.
I think it makes things like really clear and what they're looking for. Like everything's kind of laid out in front of you. We get to like check the in practice we do the stat, like everything. So after the practice ends the next morning or whatever, like we see it and we can see everything that happened. Like, oh, I missed like box outs here, or I was efficient in like getting steals or getting deflections, and you can see like it's really cool actually. I really enjoy it. So it makes it simpler to like know what I need to work on, what I'm good at, and just like continue to build off there.
Coach also talked about the scrimmages, saying he was happy about how the team responded with a 17-point win versus Stony Brook after losing 91-60 against Temple in their first scrimmage.
I'll take that response every day. I'll take that response the next 4 practices that week. I'll take that response all the time. So if we have that resilience and that grittiness, then we'll keep getting better. And our program and our team, I told them this before practice today, and the ones that I've coached, and it's not always like this, but so far I've been really lucky, and that's the idea is to grow, have a growth mindset all the way where you're playing your best basketball in February, March.
I'll post that full preview below as well. Joe Henry, who was on the show a few weeks ago, does a good job with the team, looking at the current roster and the culture on campus. And one thing I wanted to mention from the 3 Bid League podcast was when they had Coach John Giannini, former head coach of LaSalle and now analyst for USA Network for the conference games last week. He said Fordham does have a light non-conference schedule, but believes confidence is a big thing in this game, and if the shooters get off to a hot start, it could mean the Rams could be dangerous in conference play. He also said it could backfire, but said finding rhythm in non-conference is essential for this new roster. He also added that Coach Magpayo has an it factor when it comes to becoming a top coach in the league and impressed several people at A10 Media Day last month. Now to an update on some of the alums. Kyle Rose and Abdu Tsimbila will be battling out in training camp for the Long Island Nets, the NBA G League affiliate of the Brooklyn Nets. In August, the team acquired the rights to Kyle Rose from Mexico City in a 3-team trade with the Salt Lake City Stars. Kyle appeared in 49 games last season, 19 starts, averaging 6 points and 3 rebounds a contest. Abdu is fighting for a roster spot. We'll see if he makes the squad when it has its first game on Friday. The roster has to get cut from 16 to 10 before that first game, November 7th. Now to the beginning of the college basketball season. Tomorrow night, Fordham hosts NJIT at the Rose Hill Gym. It'll be the first time we get to see the squad in person and on stream this year. In the history between these two squads, Fordham is actually 1-2, with the only win coming when I was a ball boy in 2007, an 88-44 victory. I actually remember this game because NJIT was just getting started as a D1 program. Brenton Butler led the scoring with 21 points. Marcus Stout added 16. BD, Brian Dunstan, added 13 points and 9 rebounds. Fordham took a 20-point lead in the break, 41-21, quickly expanded it to 30 early in the second half by opening with the 10-0 run, and that was all she wrote. Fordham lost the next 2 meetings, one during the Neubauer era in 2018 with a 53-50 loss. The offense went cold over the final 5 minutes, 55 seconds, scoring just 2 points. It was those Neubauer teams, man. Defense was great, offense always a challenge. And then the final game was 2 years ago when Fordham lost 80-77 at the Rose Hill Gym. The Rams led by 12 at the half, but the Highlanders scored the go-ahead bucket with 37 seconds left and never looked back. That was a tough loss to watch, and they went on to go 13-20 on that season. Some memorable opening night games. The most recent one, Darius Quisenberry opened up the 2021 season with a 25-point game against Columbia. He was 6 for 12 beyond the arc in a 77-67 win. And in the beginning of the BD Stout era, Fordham downed St. Francis Brooklyn 83-62. Dunstan had 20 points, and Mushan Yakosi, one of my favorite bigs of all time, double-doubled, 19 points, and 12 rebounds. So a lot of actually history looking back on some of these openers. Fordham played in a lot of preseason NIT games against some big competition. I saw a lot of Notre Dames, Tulane's, some Syracuse, some big games, and a lot of them weren't victories. But it's just interesting to go back and look at the history of these non-conferences and realizing that, there were times where Fordham put themselves out there when they were winning programs, and it was nice to see them play against those bigger talents. I believe we're going to see more of that in years to come, but I think this year winning is the number one priority. And I'm interested to see what the team does as they come to play on Tuesday, but I think Fordham takes this one by double digits. NJIT predicted 8th out of 9 teams in the America East this season. Former video coordinator for the last 3 years, Ty Goody, is an assistant coach for the Highlanders, and he actually returns to the Rose Hill Gym. That's one of the storylines for a Fordham NJIT connection. One of the players close to Ty was Albe Evans. My interview with the mayor coming up next. My next guest was a fan favorite over the years on campus, played in 22 games, team captain his senior year, was part of the 25-win season in 2023 that a lot remember, and was called the mayor of Rose Hill. Albe Evans, thank you for joining me. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Don. Appreciate you having me.
So when I ask former players all the time, this question, because I'm always interested in their story, how did you get to Fordham?
So when I went to high school in central Pennsylvania, so local-ish to the area. But when I was deciding in between schools, I was an avid golfer in high school as well. So I wanted to pick somewhere that I could potentially do both. So it was down to Fordham or Dickinson College, which is a local school in central Pennsylvania. So I came to my decision to go to Fordham because I wanted to explore and get out of my backyard. So that's kind of how I chose Fordham and how I ended up there for the past 4 years.
I was reading the backstory on you, and you're the leading scorer for your high school. That's an achievement a very few get to do. What does that mean to you?
It's a good accomplishment. Um, I'm happy to be able to say that. Overall, I mean, I had a lot of great teammates during my time in high school, so I didn't do much of the heavy lifting. All I had to do was put the ball in the basket. They did everything else, so it was pretty easy. And credits to them.
Awesome. You were a preferred walk on the team. The role of a walk on has changed over the years. What was your role on some of those teams?
So it does vary from year to year, person to person. So my first year there was 2020 during COVID. So I was able to have a close connection with a lot of the guys on the team because that was pretty much all you had during COVID, and you didn't have many other things to do outside of athletics. So um, my freshman year was a little odd, not much of an experience because games were getting canceled, trips were getting canceled, a lot of uncertainty. So you didn't really know what to expect. But then going into my sophomore year was when Coach Neptune came to Fordham, and he kind of remodeled the program to have more of a winning culture to Fordham, which ultimately transpired into us having that 25 win season my junior year. But my sophomore year and junior year, I became more um, connected with our guys because obviously I was a sophomore and we had a more more structured schedule. So we kind of knew what to expect, what time we had to spend with each other, and extracurriculars we had to do. So I became close with a lot of the guys, and most of being a walk-on is you play here and there, so you obviously don't get crucial minutes like a lot of the stars do. And that was a tough transition going from leading scorer in high school to barely playing at Fordham, but the connections I made with a lot of the guys was totally worth it, and the time that you did get on the court was 100% valuable and worth it. So obviously the roles change from high school to college, but ultimately you have to know your role in the team, and everyone has theirs. So obviously mine was being the best teammate I could and being the best player I could in practice, because obviously those guys aren't going to go against me in the game. So I got to try to make them as most prepared as possible come practice time.
Take me back a little bit because we talked to Coach DePauli about COVID and all of that. As a player, with the lockdowns and the being able and basically everything that COVID brought to you, how tough of a time was that as a student athlete?
It was very interesting. I wouldn't say it was that I don't like using the word tough because a lot of people have it worse than us being athletes. Like it's very our lives are easy. All we do is play a sport and people watch. So ultimately a lot of people have it a lot tougher, but it was challenging because you really a lot of like I said before, there's a lot of uncertainty. So you really didn't know what to expect, but it was an unfortunate year. I mean, everything that happened was, I mean, we weren't too good as well as a team. Like our record wasn't too good, and we didn't have a productive season. So that obviously hurts a locker room as well. So I mean, it was a long season with COVID. But ultimately, by the end of the year, we were able to kind of solidify some things in how the next year was going to go with COVID winding down and everything. So that whole year was kind of a fluke. I mean, it was kind of a blur. I don't really remember much from that year because it was just like in and out. Like people were there, people weren't there. Like you were traveling, you weren't. So I wish I had a little more to tell you, but ultimately it was kind of a blur, and I don't really remember much from that year.
Well, I was just going to say, how hard was that as, a guy transitioning from high school to college? You're expecting, parties, big, just being a guy kind of away from your hometown, like you said. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're on lockdown, or like coach said, we're working on our zone defense on Zoom. Like how difficult is that for yourself, just finally getting a transition to something new in your life, and then all of a sudden this pandemic hits?
Well, one thing I could state on that matter is it did really help my grades because I got to use my online resources a lot for school and everything. So I was able to start, I had a great base of a GPA to start college. So I was grateful for that. But ultimately, everything else was kind of lousy. Like I said, you didn't really see anyone from other sports. You really didn't see anyone from other teams or anything, or other academic classes and everything. So you really didn't meet people, and not many people were on campus. So it was kind of like a ghost area, I'd say. Like, I mean, you knew where people would be at certain times just because it would be the same people every day at certain times. But other than that, there wasn't much to do. You didn't really know much. I mean, it was tough to, like you said, it was tough to do workouts on computer. Like our strength coach would be um are leading a workout through like a Zoom call like we're on right now. So obviously that's not the most effective because you kind of do whatever, and it's not like he's there to motivate you or push you to be the best you could be. So obviously maybe that's a correlation to why we weren't that um, that successful that season. But a lot of other teams were successful, so I would be genuinely curious as to see what they did rather than what we did.
I like it. I like it. Going back to the basketball side of things, you get your career bucket on the road at Davidson. It wasn't a great game. Guys lost by 20, but you played 5 minutes and you got that three. I remember now remembering it was, I think, a corner three. What did that mean to you?
It was a good feeling. I mean, ultimately, it's nice to have some sort of reward to that matter because all the hard work you do behind the scenes, you want some like grateful feeling like that. So it was a great accomplishment, but I was used to playing like the guys who were in at that time with me. No, like we all would play with each other every day because you have to play against obviously our starting five. So we would play with each other every day. So it was really nothing new to us besides the fact that we were starting down 20, which normally we don't start. They would start us up 10. So normally we wouldn't know how to play in that situation. But it was a great feeling. I guess that's one of my favorite places to go. I mean, they do have, outside of the hotel we used to stay at, they did have a golf putting green. So that was ultimately my favorite trip because, like I said, I like to golf. So I just loved everything about the trip. So it couldn't make for a better scenario to have that accomplishment at Davidson.
That's amazing. Fast forward to senior day against URI. You get the start that day. Take me back. Was there, a moment maybe leading up to that game, or something that happened that morning that meant a lot to you? I'm just curious.
So, I mean, nothing really changed from normal practice to leading up to that day, other than like they switched the matchups because obviously the seniors were starting, so the seniors had to play as our normal starting five, like we normally do out of practice, rather than just on scout, like I normally would with a couple other guys. But um, that was pretty much all that changed leading up. I mean, we treated it like a normal game. Like you don't really want to do anything other than what you normally do, just leading into the last game, just because there's a couple lineup changes. That happens all the time. Like you see it a lot in college more than like the professionals. Like a lot of people are immature in college and miss things and then get benched for a little bit or have an argument. So there's lineup changes here and there. So we really didn't change much other than having me in the starting lineup, which was very rare. But actually, leading up to that game, normally a couple of guys and actually some coaches would work out before games, or we would normally do a long 5 mile run or something to that matter. And actually, I hurt my ankle 3 days before, and I'll send you an image of it after. But credits to our athletic training staff. But I mean, the thing was a balloon, so I'm just glad I was able to run through it and play through it. But it's a funny image. I'll send you and you can include it after.
Oh my goodness, I
So
can't wait to
no
see.
one knew about that because obviously you wear socks and shoes. But other than our team and everything, was we were all laughing about it. But it wouldn't make for any better of a moment because it was like, oh, like what bad timing. But like everyone could feel sorry for you. Like everyone could be, oh, like man, like that sucks. But like it's life. Like that's how things go. Like you have to just go with the flows, dodge some punches.
Yeah, one thing I appreciate about you is just the fact of how high spirit you are, and you put a lot of things into perspective and you put it in the right way, and I appreciate that. You're known as the mayor of Rose Hill during those years on campus. Why and who came up with that title?
I actually have no idea how I got that. I don't remember when it happened. I don't remember how it happened. But someone just I think it might have been when I was a sophomore or a junior when we started becoming very good or better than we were. I would get more playing time because we would be winning or we would be losing for say by a lot. So I would play more. So a lot of people know who I was, and I would see a couple like how you can get socialized with just your athletes. I would try to involve myself with everyone because ultimately you're gonna have the most. Life's just the game, and you just have to connect with the right people to be able to play the game of life. So ultimately, I would just talk to everyone who I saw. So I don't know if it's just because I tried to talk to everyone I could, or I don't know how it worked out. But I mean, it's a cool nickname. I'm glad I got it, I guess.
That's an amazing thing. I was just curious because it was just like it was always like pump up for a game and be like the mayor here, and I'm like, how did he get this title? This is awesome.
A lot of people thought I used to get it by they would be like, "Oh, like you must be at the bars 24/7," but I wasn't. So I don't know. That was what was going around. But I mean, if you want to say that's how I got it, feel free. But I don't think it was.
Okay, that makes sense. One thing that I loved was former players on social media were always sticking up for you because there'd be fans of other teams in the A10 that would post your picture and be like, "We're playing against these guys, like, oh, we should win by like 30." But I remember Chuba responded to one of those one time, Chuba Ohams, saying that he'd run through a brick wall for you. What did that mean to earn such respect from your teammates that they knew how much effort you put in and they knew that you were a part of the team while others were just like, oh, he's just the last piece of the puzzle?
Well, what's said a lot is you don't really understand. Like a nice saying in life is you don't understand what a person is going through till you're in their shoes. I mean, no one really understood what we would do every day unless they were playing with us or watching us. So like these guys and I would play against each other every day. So I mean, I'm at a disadvantage with my size. I was 5'8" or whatever, 160 pounds or whatever. So, I mean, I would have to find ways, like if I needed to, obviously I wouldn't try to foul, but if I needed to foul, so they would obviously be very upset with me because I would be fouling them during practice and they wouldn't call it. But, so it just created a bond with these guys. And then Chuba was one of the guys who I played with for 2 years, and his first year at Fordham was this COVID season or whatever it was, and he only played one game, and it was our last game of the year. And before that, it would just be overall workouts he would do because he was like non-contact coming back from like a knee. I don't know the specifics, but he did have a leg injury, or I think it was knee, um, the year before. So he did not play that whole season except one game. And he would work out after practice, and we would do workouts together. So pretty much every day. I mean, I didn't have much school to do at that year because it was COVID. So you were able to do everything online and no worries about making up things or missing class because you could always just join on your cell phone or computer and just honestly walk away from it. But I would work out with him every day after practice. So that's how we created such a close bond because we really worked out with each other for a whole year straight. I mean, so that's how we got so close. And then his next year was his senior year when he played very well and now is playing professional. So I mean, I don't want to take all the credit, but we did work out every day. So maybe those workouts really did pay off when he was getting his injury. So that's how Chuba and I became so close.
That's awesome, man. And the thing is, like, you know, you like you said, you went from a guy scoring all the time to then the guy basically being on the prep team. What did you learn about yourself maybe during your career? Maybe about yourself or about D1 college basketball, you know, looking back on things.
Well, there was times where I would call like family members and or basically my dad, and I have a younger brother as well. And I was like, oh man, like this kind is lousy. Like I'm not really doing much. Like, I'm not getting the reward. But then ultimately, like I said before, you look back and like everyone's like, oh, COVID was so tough. I was like, it really wasn't. Like I was fine. We were all fine. Like it was just an unfortunate year. So, I mean, if the worst thing I had was going from the leading scorer in my high school team and the all-time leading scorer to being on the scout team playing Division One basketball, getting a private plane to all of our away games over a couple hours, like life's pretty good. So that's how I was looking at it because, like college is only 4 years. Like now, I work at an insurance broker in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, which that's where I am right now. So, like, ultimately, like, just enjoy the 4 years because, it does, like, people do say it flies by. I mean, it doesn't fly by, but like, once you mature and grow up, the years go quicker than they did in high school and everything.
They certainly do. And one year that every Fordham fan remembers is that 25 win season. Why do you think that team flourished? Let me start with that.
Well, it started, I guess you can kind of say, like I said, like the coaches coach, the coaches have to bring in the players. So their job is to bring in the players, but ultimately they can't shoot the ball for you. So um, I think our coaching staff, who I still keep in touch with to this day, who are now all over the place since we got a new coaching staff at Fordham. But I still keep in touch with mostly all of them. And they did a very good job preparing us for that year. But it was why people are so successful, I believe, is because you don't really need them to coach much. It's all you guys coaching because you're the ones playing. So ultimately, it was mostly a lot of the coaching was done between each other, not the actual coaches. They get all the respect and everything from us, but ultimately we have to hold each other accountable. So I think that's how teams become great is when you start holding each other accountable and you guys are the ones really coaching each other.
Who was the leader? Was it, D Quiz, or was it Moore, or, Trell? Kind of who was the guy who was kind of like the leader of the huddle?
Now, I think a lot. Now, mostly you could say one leader was Darius. He was the most vocal and outspoken of all of us. He would tell everyone how it is. But there's other guys on our team as well who wouldn't speak, but when they do, it's very crucial information that everyone can learn from. So that was one thing that I think that team did well was we didn't just yell things at each other. We tried to help each other. And when people did say things, everyone listened. I think that was a struggle for some of our other years was people would say things and then others would just have it go in one year and out the other. That year, I think we really listened to each other and just wanted the best for each other rather than just having people yell at each other and then you're like, okay, and then you're 5 minutes later and you do the same mistake and people are like, I just told you that, and they just one ear out the other. So I think it's more so not leading, but everyone else being able to listen and then obviously coaching each other in different ways is a big thing. So obviously different people respond to different emotional tones differently. So if you yell at someone who's very sensitive, they're not going to take it as well as someone who wants to be screamed at. So you have to learn how each player wants to be talked to. So that was obviously one thing that your listening skills help. So I think that's what helped that team propel to a 25 win season.
So what moment maybe in the season did something click in where it was like, hey, we got something special. We can do something really good this year.
Well, I don't remember like how that season really went. I think we might have lost one game in the non-conference, I think. I don't remember what conference games we really lost, but ultimately I think it was one of the conference games we did lose. I don't remember who it was against. I think that's when everyone kind of just started leading each other and helping each other rather than being like, oh, like the coaches can guide us, but then ultimately it's us, you know? So
Yeah.
that's why I like when I was like, oh, like a lot of people, like, you know, there's a lot of coach turnover nowadays in college sports. So I think from being in it, you get a lot of high priority fans who are very active in like the say, like, oh, like he's not for the job, he is for the job. But ultimately, the players are the ones interacting with the coaches every day, and they're the ones shooting the ball, not the coach. So the coach can only do his part, but ultimately, it's really the players whose fault it is for the coach turnover in college.
No, that makes sense. One thing that coach was really good at, and you guys were creating an environment that was amazing called Rose Thrill. Your thoughts on Rose Thrill and having a packed gym during all those key victories?
I think it's very. I mean, the one nice thing is from being to multiple arenas, actual arenas in college, like some sort of SEC or playing at Barclays Center or being at Madison Square Garden, like you know what an actual arena is or like what a big complex is supposed to look like. So you got the experience of like, oh man, like these are awesome places, like you want to play here. But the one nice thing, I'm sure everyone hated coming to Fordham because it's just so tiny. It's like an old high school place. So I'm sure like our 2,000 fans that do come to the game make it feel like there's a lot more people just because our gym's so tiny. So ultimately, it would be better to have that 2,000 fan Rose Thrill environment than like an ultimately 7,000 or big arena that would not get sold out. So it was great to see what what they were able to create with Rose Thrill. A lot of credit to some of our like supporting managers who were able to contact their friends, and then that was who ultimately did the student section of Rose Thrill. So credits to them. You know, they showed up every day as much for every game. Like we had to show up every day for practice. So, you know, it's not, I'm sure they didn't want to go to some games, like it was late or they had homework, but, you know, that's what everyone has to do. And like once you graduate from college, you know, you don't want to go to work every day. You don't want to do this, but ultimately, like it prepares you for the next steps and what's going to come. So it's credit to them and the showing up for everyone. But, you know, it was great to have an environment like that rather than an empty gym.
Do you think that helped you get a few extra wins?
I'm sure it did. I'm sure because, you know, like it gives a little extra motivation for the team to play better if you have all this crowd, like, you know, like you're a hot shot and everything, this and that. So rather than winning at an empty gym, because, you know, at the beginning of the year when you play your non-conference games, you really don't know who you're playing or like not knowledgeable schools. But then you kind of know who the A10 schools are because they're hanging up in the gym. So when people walk through the gym, you could kind of tell, oh man, like they play this school. Like, well, we've seen their name all around campus or in like the recreational center. Like their names are on the wall. So, oh man, like I know that name. Like we should go to the game. So it helps when the students actually know some of the schools who you're playing rather than some of the non-conference, non-local schools who you get. And they're just like, oh, like we don't need to go to this game.
Right. No, that makes sense. You were mentioning personalities and the leaders and the voices. That roster on that 25-win season had a lot of personalities. Any funny stories that lightened up the team or maybe broke the ice or anything you could share?
I mean, everything like I said is kind of just like now I guess this is my second season without college basketball. So, I mean, it's nice to like be able to watch the games and go to the games. Like I know somebody everywhere so I can go to visit a lot of people and watch a lot of games. But ultimately from that year, I really don't remember like a certain key moment besides like we were always celebrating because we were winning like all the time. Like, you know, there were certain years where like, oh man, like that one win, like that felt great. But like that year, we were just every game, like we were celebrating, like we won again, like we won, like oh man, we lost, but like then we won like 3 in a row. So like it was just like ultimately you're just happy after every game and celebrating, and like that would transition into practice the next day or two later. You'd just be like, man, like we just won, like we can do it again. So it was just being able to win. Like once you win one, it's all momentum. So, that's kind of what propelled us to, I'm sure, that 25 win season.
Winning is infectious. That is so true. One thing I'm curious to ask is the football style inbound play. It was used a lot during that year. How long did that actually take to come up with in practice? Who came up with it, and why do you think it was so effective?
So I don't know who came up with it. I do know how it's effective though, because I don't remember how like the X's and O's were drawn up or how to ultimately run it. I mean, if you probably put me on the baseline, I would figure it out because I would just have like PTSD or something, and then I would have to remember it. So, I think the reason why it's so effective is because you can't guard the guy in front. You can't be guarding the guy in front of the ball. So ultimately, you're supposed to guard the person between the ball and your defender or the person you're guarding. But you can't do that when the person's out of bounds unless you stand behind them. And then if they do, you're free to the basket. So, I mean, you could just take one step and then throw it to the guy, and it's impossible to guard. So I think that's probably why it's so effective. But then you would also the football inbound play, you get one time it doesn't work and everyone hates it. But then the other 6 times it does work, everyone's like, man, this play's awesome. So, I think it was a very effective play. Like I didn't know anything about it until college, but ultimately if you did have to coach in a crucial game, that would be a good play to run because it's almost impossible to defend.
And you see a lot more teams run it. I was just like you said there were a couple times where it didn't work out. During practice they usually say you run a couple scenarios here and there. Did you run that often, or was it more of a, maybe we're going into this game, we're probably going to have to run this play?
We used to do it a lot. I mean, every practice we would finish with an end of the game scenario, just in case. You always want to have an end of game scenario just in case you're winning. You want to be winning at the end of the game, so you would practice that scenario. So we would go over that, but then like my prep team or scout team would have 6 or 7 guys playing defense against them. So, you know, sometimes that it didn't work, that could be the player's fault. Like it's not the X's and O's part. Maybe the guy just didn't run hard enough. Maybe he just didn't work hard enough to get the ball, um, I think this is, a lot of people say winning hurts, but I mean, like you want it to, like, you want to leave it all out there to win. So, just like if you cut a little harder, or run a little faster, or just push yourself to the max, like that one step could make you get the ball or on the inbound play. So, um, we would practice it all the time from a baseline standpoint. Free throws are another big one that they would do at the end of the game, because normally it's at the end of the game, it's inbound and free throws. It's not really actually basketball. It's just kind of that. So, those are 2 things that we would really practice at the end of a workout, was free throws and inbounding, because a majority of the time that's what's happening.
Nope, that makes sense. And you mentioned in the beginning, you're still in touch with some of the coaches. One thing that I could feel from an outsider looking in is you had a good relationship with Coach Ergo. What has he meant to you on and off the court?
Well, maybe the one reason why I always joke about, the one reason why we bonded is because we were both about 5'7". Like, only like the really short people understand the issue of the small people issue. So I always joke about that issue. But we were very close. He is an amazing family that 4 children, a great partner as well. So he is a great family who would always be around. So, you're really playing basketball for 3-4 hours a day. Like, other than that, it's life. So like, it's not just about him being a coach. Like, he's another person in your life. So ultimately the connections with the coaches were more so a relationship rather than a coach to player. So that's how I became so close with a lot of the coaches was, like there's really more to this. Like they're just not here to coach me. Like we're all in life and we're all at Fordham. So we might as well create these relationships that could carry on forever.
Yeah, and having that support system, knowing that he supports 1 through 15 on the roster, what did that mean to you? Like that, no matter you're the star player or you're at the end of the bench, you're an important part of not only the team, but you're an important part of Fordham in terms of getting a degree and being a positive person in life.
Well, a lot of things. You hear a lot of coaches say nowadays they want ultimately it's for these players to be the best players, obviously the basketball players they can be, but obviously the best people they can be as well. So like I said, you're only playing basketball for really 4 hours a day. So ultimately you're just creating relationships with each other that you want to carry on. So like we would try to do as much off the court activities we could with each other. So we would, like, for example, my sophomore year was like when COVID kind of came back for a little bit of the season, like it wasn't like my freshman year, like every game was still on, but some people were in and out here and there. So it was a lot of more team bonding. So, like that pretty much whole staff was there from my sophomore year to my senior year. So we were able to really connect and create these relationships that we could carry on throughout life. So I'm very grateful for all these guys who were able to coach me and basically mentor me because, that's like the college stage is where you're kind of like, what am I doing? Like you're just like, ultimately you want to be a professional basketball player, but then you got to look once you get to where you're at, you got to look in the mirror and say, oh, like, I'm not going to be a professional basketball player, guys. Like you got to get some mentoring, and that's what this staff did for me. So I'm very grateful for them, and that's kind of why I'm in the position I'm in today.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Last thing, you mentioned you like golf, you love golf, with the putting green over in Davidson. Also, you're a great baseball player. So, why did you choose to play basketball? Maybe you could have been a college golfer, or maybe even a good baseball player.
So I mean, um, baseball was never on the radar for me. Like I was where my high school, Schuylkill Haven area high school, um, very small high school. It's about 90 to 100 kids per graduating class in central Pennsylvania. So you really didn't have the option to not play a sport or an instrument. You really had to pick one, like either you were doing something. So pretty much every 1 through 90 in our graduating class did something in every season. So, in the fall, I played golf. In the winter, I played basketball. And in the spring, I did baseball. So, like you had to do it, or it was kind of a selfish aspect coming from you. Like it wasn't, oh man, like I'm getting worn out. Like everyone knew they had to support each other, or kind of our high school would just get absorbed into like another bigger high school. So everyone either played an instrument, played a sport, or did an after school activity. So baseball was never on the radar for me. I just kind of did it to help out my friends and everything in high school because they played basketball. And then the deal was if like they all gone out for the basketball team, I need to go out for the baseball team. Like that's how it works. So I was never a star and a great baseball player. So I knew that wasn't on the radar for me in the next level. And basketball was one of the things I really liked in high school, and then golf as well. And um, golf's a very tough sport because it's a lot of focusing, a lot of endurance, kind of. I mean, it's not a physically taxing sport, but it's very mentally taxing. You're just kind of out by yourself for about six hours a day, almost practicing or playing golf. So, you know, I wanted to pick somewhere, like I said, that had both options. So, my freshman year, I was up in the air about doing both, but then once that time came to make a decision, I ultimately wanted to do basketball because obviously the perks are better, and then like I'm gradually grown into the captain of the team my senior year. So ultimately, I did have that respect and everything with with the staff and everything, and they ultimately gave me more perks and achievements I could have received at college playing basketball than golf. And then to this day, I'm still able to play golf for the rest of my life. But that basketball option, the ball stopped bouncing for me 2 years ago. So ultimately, I'm still able to play golf, which I did not get to experience in college, but I'm still able to play by myself in a competitive aspect. And I was able to do basketball when the ball was still bouncing. So I was grateful that I did make that decision and the relationships that I created along the road.
Hey, I appreciate you taking some time. Last thing is when you're out and about, maybe talking to clients or anyone like that, trying to get to know you, does anyone ever, do research on you, or do you ever bring up like, oh yeah, I played college basketball, and they'd be like, you did? Like what?
Yeah.
Does that ever happen?
Well, it happens more frequently than not, but you have to being on a sales aspect of the insurance side, normally you can kind of read the room like you're reading an inbound play or something to that matter. So you're kind of like, oh, like if you're getting like into like a laughing matter, if you want to crack a joke, you could always normally my go-to is, oh, like you played basketball, and then normally I would go to, yeah, I'm the center of the team. And then they would be like, "You're the center." And I was like, "Do you think I'm the center?" So obviously that's a good joke I crack a lot. But I do get that. I still use my backpack from Fordham, so it's very beat up. It probably is going to go in the garbage in a couple of years or the donation bin. So this is probably the last year I'll have it. I mean, it's very beat up, but right now it has all my work equipment in it, and there's no interest or desire to clean it out soon. So hopefully it holds up for a little longer. So once they see that, they normally see my name tag in, and they're like, "Oh man, like you played basketball." So I actually got that question today on the phone. So it's funny you ask. So early this morning, somebody did ask, and then I cracked the center joke, and they get a kick out of that. So it's a good icebreaker, It's worked for me so far. I haven't got a lot of no's yet. So maybe once the center joke backfires, I'll stop cracking it.
Hey, I'm in sales as well. You got to use whatever works. Don't break it.
Yep.
Well, thanks again for your time. Appreciate you, and always going to be talking to you, and all success in the future.
Thanks, Don. You as well.
I want to thank Albe for his time and insight into his time on campus. Always good to hear about just so much different variety of what happened during those 4 years. Next week, we'll break down the games and hopefully have great things to talk about following those matchups. Please continue to subscribe and leave comments on the show. Helps get more listeners involved, and I appreciate everyone that has tuned in over the last few months. I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Rams!